A former Miss Kentucky Beauty Queen pageant winner has been arrested for allegedly sending nude photos of herself to a 15-year-old boy. Investigators say 28-year-old Ramsey Barris admitted to sending at least 4 topless photos to the teen through the social media site Snapchat. The boy used to be a student at the middle school where she teaches. Officials say his mom found the pictures on his phone last week and alerted law enforcement. HLN legal analyst Joey Jackson joins me. A whole lot wrong with this story, Joey. This was done using a social site where messages disappear, as we know, right away. So what can investigators do in terms of investigating this?
You know, Susan, good afternoon to you. What they can do is what they did do is to speak to the parents, otherwise obtain information. And apparently what they did, although Snapchat does delete the messages or otherwise erase them, they disappear.
Is there a way to find them?
Yes, they were saved on the scroll of the actual phone. And so when you send something to someone, they can take an image capture of it. And as a result of that, while the Snapchat may be gone, the actual image is preserved. And so that preserved image obviously is significant evidence because it matches her phone to the text phone cell at issue, which is this of the 15-year-old. Apparently, there are 4 separate images. And as a result of that, she faces 4 counts. It's a felony, punishable up to 5 years in jail. And it's very significant. You know, obviously it's a state crime. It could be a federal one too. So at this point, you know, authorities are continuing to investigate. They've made the arrest. She's been released on $10,000 bail. She has been arraigned, that is informed of what the charges are, given that bail amount, and she'll be returning to court to otherwise answer for the charges, Susan.
Joey, you and I have seen cases like this before. The most famous is Mary Kay Letourneau. She ended up marrying the student, but she went to jail before, didn't listen to the judge, and we've seen it time and time again. And when I hear middle school, it's just cringeworthy when you see this woman and thinking, 27 years old, and this is a middle school student.
Without question. And I think at this point, the charges are the submission of the obscene material, that is the transmission of that material to the cell phone, and you can't do it, right? It's punishable as a felony by law. I think they're going to be looking for more. Was there a relationship here, which they don't know? If so, when may it have begun? If it did and there was a relationship, what was the nature of the contact between the two, if any? So these charges can always be upgraded at some later point. I think the defense attorney, which she does have a lawyer, will certainly be making the argument that, look, while this certainly isn't acceptable, I think they'll be looking at the things she has done, such as graduating with a bachelor's degree in special education, working with these special education students. She's apparently had multiple sclerosis and has done much for that. So they'll be looking at the mitigating factors, the good points in her life, in order to diminish this horrific point in her life in an effort to strike a balance and perhaps enter into some plea arrangement, provided that the investigators and prosecution has the goods and that this material and evidence is significant.
And as you're listing everything she has done, all of her accomplishments, you wonder, why would she do this? And if it wasn't for the mom, we may never know.
You know, I think that when people engage in behavior like this, there's something, right, that's amiss. And so I think, you know, some type of program, some type of treatment, some type of rehabilitation, some type of whatever it takes kind of could put them on the straight and narrow. And so whenever people engage in behavior like this, there's something more that meets the eye, and you have to scratch the surface to see what the underlying needs are. But it puts judges and prosecutors in tough positions, because we have talked before, Susan, in this 3 tenets of the system: punishment, deterrence, and rehabilitation. You have to punish her for this. You want to deter others from doing this. At the same time, you know that she's one that has done great things, could be rehabilitated, and could, you know, shouldn't be defined by this, but it's something that you can't do, particularly as it relates to a 15-year-old. And you said it first, middle school. That's a problem.
Always love getting your take, Joey. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan.